Welcome to Three Crosses Farrier Company. We're trimming another draft hoof today, and this is the right hind foot. I get a lot of questions in the comments. Does this hurt them? No, it does not hurt them. Much like you trimming your fingernails, this is the same principle. It's almost identical. There is a spot where you'll go too far and you would hurt them and make them sore, just like if you trimmed your fingernails too short, you would make them sore. But when done correctly, it doesn't hurt at all. In fact, they feel better when we get done. What you see here is after we clean out all the dirt, we're going to take out the dead tissue. This dead tissue would normally exfoliate by movement on the ground. So in the wild, horses travel greater distances than horses in captivity over rough terrain, and they break off and chip and wear off the dead portions of their hoof. But in captivity, this doesn't happen. So we have to come in and trim the foot. And so what you see there, all that flakiness, some of that's thrush, some of it is just dead tissue that's dead and decomposing in the bottom of the foot. And so if allowed and just let alone, it will have infections, bacteria, and eventually cause this horse a lot of problems. So our job is to clean out all the dead tissue that we can without making them sore. You'll see here I'm opening up what they call the commissures. It's the portion of the hoof between the frog and the sole. And the idea is that we're cleaning this out and opening it up so that dirt and bacteria don't get trapped under that frog. Here you'll see I'm taking out some more dead tissue. I'm using a loop knife here. It's one of my favorite tools. Works really well. The other knife that I use is a JH Forge short blade. Um, Puts a lot less strain on your wrist and your elbow. Again, we're going to make sure that we get as much dead tissue out. You don't want to go so far that you go into live tissue. You just want to exfoliate the tissue that needs to come out, the dead tissue and non-viable tissue. So here I'm running, these are 15-inch nippers. They're a GE 15. I have 14 race nippers and 12 half rounds that I use as well. But on these big horses, you need big nippers. So I'm using a GE 15. Again, we're making sure we clean that bar up, get that all nipped out of there, and then we're going to start our nip line. So it's super important when you're nipping the hoof that we do it flat and that we come all the way back level so that we don't create divots, because if we did, maybe we go too deep in one spot, not deep enough in another, and then he's unbalanced. So the idea is that we nip flat all the way around, and this also helps us when we get ready to rasp. We don't have to rasp as much. Here you'll also see that you can just see the sheer amount of hoof wall this horse has. And she was getting tired. This is the other reason that we try to be efficient and not waste time when we're trimming these horses. This is not a particularly comfortable position for her to be in, so we try to do it as quickly as possible so that she's not uncomfortable. Again, here you can see that massive foot just coming undone. And there it is. That is one. See how it just almost goes right back on, comes right off. Kind of neat. Then we're going to rasp the foot. Again, you use the rasp in kind of a circular movement, and you make points of contact in two places, not just one. And that helps you keep the rasp flat as you rasp all the way around. We're going to come around. We're going to clean up. Here's it's just a little extra frog that's grown around the end of the heel, and so usually I'll just clean that up a little bit with my knife. And again, you can see that I'm using my JH Forge here, and I'm going to clean a little bit, just do a little bit more finish work, and then we're going to take off the flare with the nipper. Again, it's about a little bit about being a little bit more economy of motion, taking a little less time. I can do this with my rasp, but if I can save a little time by using my nippers, it does help. The idea is that your hoof wall should be the same width all the way around. So where the hoof wall is wider is where we have flare, where it's narrower is where we have weight. And so we shoot for some symmetry when we're working on horses. Again, taking off just a little bit of, and that does it for that part. Now we're going to swing the foot forward. Here we're going to use Saran wrap. This is one of the coolest things I think I've discovered recently, is that I've used vet wrap and all kinds of different things. Everybody goes, well, plastic's bad, you shouldn't use plastic. Well, everything we use is plastic. I've tried several different methods. The whole idea of like a sock or something, and then you never can find them when you need them for the draft, and they're buried in some toolbox. But I have the Saran wrap right in front and center in my toolbox all the time, so it just makes more sense to use it. Again, using my nippers to save a little bit of time. And we go around the outside of the foot, take off a little bit. Again, it's about flare, and we're not weakening the hoof wall here because this horse has a lot of extra hoof wall, and flare acts as a lever, and it just continues to distort that foot. The more flare you have, the worse it gets. So if you have a 1/4 of an inch of flare, boy, that puts so much strain. But if you have an inch of flare, it's putting so much more torque. So it kind of is like a graph exponentially. So as the flare becomes bigger and longer, it becomes more and more pronounced as it goes. Again, going to run our rasp around the outside of the foot, clean it up, make it look nice and pretty, get rid of all the flare and distortion that we can. And again, it's amazing. You look at my hands, they're just so small compared to this hoof. This is the biggest draft foot that I do on my books. I have several other drafts that I do, but none of them compare in size to this horse. Again, got that mostly done there. We're going to do what they call a little bit of a roll. We're going to take that rasp and roll the toad just a little, put a little bit of an angle. And the reason that we do that is if you have a straight edge, it will hit rocks and things and chip because it's straight. But if we roll it a little bit, it won't chip. And so this will look relatively good when we come back in 8 weeks. Again, that flare on that outside, you could see it from the bottom, just getting rid of it a little bit. Going to cut the Saran wrap off. And that should just about do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments.